The initial sting of betrayal, the deep ache of rejection, these are not signs of weakness, but undeniable proof of your humanity. To love another person is to make a conscious decision to be vulnerable, to grant someone access to the parts of you that are most easily wounded. This vulnerability is not a flaw. It is the very prerequisite of any meaningful connection. A man who never risks pain, never experiences depth, and his strength is untested and theoretical. Therefore, the first and most crucial step is to reframe. The entire experience, being hurt, is not an indictment of your character, but a testament to your capacity to care deeply. The pain is evidence that you showed up fully, that you invested something real. The mistake lies not in feeling the wound, but in misinterpreting its meaning and allowing it to craft a false narrative about your own inadequacy. The immediate, instinctual responses are almost always counterproductive. The first instinct is often to collapse inward, to be consumed by a wave of self-pity. This internal dialogue asks, "Why me?" and laments the injustice of it all. While this is a natural stage of grief, lingering here is dangerous. Externalizes your power, framing you as a passive victim of her actions, and it communicates to her, and more importantly,
back to yourself,
that she possesses the ability to dismantle your entire world. The other common reaction is to explode outward in anger, to confront, to demand explanations, or to try to force her to see the damage she has caused. This reaction, while feeling more active and powerful, is just another form of powerlessness. It reveals that your emotional state is still tethered to her, that her actions can dictate your reactions. Both collapse and rage are different sides of the same coin. They both hand her the keys to your emotional kingdom. The true path forward begins with a conscious, disciplined shift from reaction to response. This requires you to sit in the uncomfortable silence of your pain without immediately seeking to numb it or project it outward. You must look directly at the hurt and acknowledge its existence without being swept away by its narrative. This is the core of Stoic resilience. The pain is real, but it is an event that happened to you, not who you are. Your identity is separate from the injury. This is where you reclaim agency. Your healing becomes a project that you undertake. Mission you direct. It is an internal process that she has no part in. By mastering your response, choosing stillness over chaos, purpose over reaction, you perform the ultimate act of reclamation. You take back the power she thought she had when she caused the hurt. You declare that while she could wound you, she does not get to define you, and that your recovery is a matter of your own will, not her apology or acknowledgement. This foundational control of self is the unshakable ground upon which all true strength is built. The aftermath of pain creates a vacuum, and nature, like the human psycho, pours a vacuum. This is the precise moment when the desperate, aching need for closure emerges. It feels like an insatiable hunger for answers. You find yourself replaying conversations, searching for hidden meanings in old texts, and constructing elaborate arguments in your head about what you will say to make her finally understand. You believe that if you can just find the right combination of words, the perfect logical explanation, you can somehow make the pain stop. This pursuit is a siren's call, and following it leads only to shipwreck. The fundamental error is the assumption that her actions were born from a place of logic to begin with. You are trying to solve an emotional equation with a rational formula, and it will never compute. Her reasons, even if she were to articulate them perfectly, would never land with the weight you hope for. They would feel hollow, insufficient, and ultimately, they would not undo the cut. The healing you seek cannot be found in her words, because the wound was not created by her words alone. It was created by the shift in meaning behind them. This is why the concept of indifference is not about a petty, performative silence meant to make her notice. True indifference is a profound internal shift. It is the realization that her opinion, her perspective, and her current life no longer occupy any real estate in your mind. It is the quiet understanding that your value was never truly determined by her presence, so it cannot be destroyed by her absence. Actions like posting carefully curated social media posts to showcase a good time or trying to strategically make her jealous are not indifference. They're high-volume performances that scream, "Look at me. See what you're missing?" They are simply another form of chasing, another way of handing her the remote control to your emotions. Every reaction, positive or negative, is a form of engagement. And engagement is a form of energy that she does not deserve. The real power lies in a silence so complete it becomes unnerving. It is the decision to simply vanish not from the world, but from her drama. You disappear into the architecture of your own life. You pour every ounce of that desperate, anxious energy that you would have wasted on begging or arguing directly into your mission, your physical health, your mental fortitude, and your personal growth. You stop speaking her language entirely. This silent forward momentum is the ultimate confrontation because it is utterly irrefutable. It cannot be debated, manipulated, or twisted. It simply is. It communicates one undeniable truth, that your world has continued to turn and even accelerate without her in it. This is what truly unsettles someone who expected to leave a crater, to realize that the ground has already healed over, stronger than before, and that they are remembered not with anger or longing, but with a calm, quiet irrelevance. That is the posture of a man who owns his own power. The raw energy of pain is a volatile and potent force. Left unchecked, it will curdle into bitterness and seep into your foundations, rotting you from the inside out. But that same energy, when harnessed with intention, becomes the purest fuel for transformation. This is the critical juncture. Will you let this pain bury you, or will you let it build you? The choice is not a single grand gesture, but a series of small, disciplined decisions made every morning. It is the decision to get out of bed when you want to hide, to lift the weight when you feel weak, to focus on the work when your mind wants to wander back to her. This is where you channel the ache in your chest into the burn in your muscles, the fog of confusion into the clarity of a plan. You are not pretending the hurt doesn't exist. You are using its very real energy to construct a version of yourself that is harder, sharper, and more resilient. This is alchemy. You are taking the lead of your suffering and transmuting it into the gold of discipline. Every rep, every completed task, every learned skill is a brick in a new foundation, one that she had no hand in building and has no power to shake. This process of building is inextricably linked to the parallel process of forgiveness, which is perhaps the most misunderstood step. Forgiveness is not absolution. It is not saying what she did was okay, nor is it a free pass to let her back into your life. It is, first and foremost, a selfish act of self-preservation. To withhold forgiveness is to drink poison and expect her to get sick. You are holding on to the hurt, replaying the betrayal, and keeping the wound open with your own hands. Forgiveness is the decision to surgically remove that poison from your system, to saying what you did was wrong and it hurt me, but I refuse to let you live in my head any longer. I am cutting the rope tethering me to this event. It is the ultimate declaration that her power over you is finished. You are not doing it for her. You are doing it for your own peace, to free up the mental and emotional bandwidth that has been occupied by resentment, so you can pour all of it into your own growth. This entire endeavor is built upon the non-negotiable bedrock of self-respect. A woman who hurt you has already shown you her character. To entertain the idea of letting her back in, hoping she'll be different, is the highest form of self-betrayal. It is a gamble you have already lost once, and to play again is to ignore the evidence right in front of you. Self-respect is closing a door permanently. It is saying, you showed me exactly who you are, and I believe you. You do not get a second chance to disrespect me. This isn't about anger or punishment. It is about cold, hard value. Every time you allow someone who has betrayed you back into your inner circle, you devalue your own love and demonstrate that. Your boundaries are negotiable. Strong boundaries are not walls to keep everyone out. They are filters to ensure that only those who have earned the right through consistent, respectful action can get close enough to matter by enforcing them. You teach the world, and most importantly, yourself, how you deserve to be treated. The pain of betrayal is a brutal but unparalleled teacher. Its lessons are not offered gently. They're carved into you. And the choice is whether you let the scarring make you ugly or whether you let it shape you into something more formidable. This is the process of extraction. To only feel the wound is to suffer passively, to be a victim of the event. But to reflect on it is to actively mine it for the wisdom it contains, transforming a personal loss into a universal gain. This requires moving beyond the simple narrative of "she hurt me" and asking the more difficult, more revealing questions of yourself. Where was my vision clouded? What red flags did I consciously or unconsciously ignore because the comfort of the illusion felt better than the discomfort of the truth? Did I give too much of myself away, mistaking sacrifice for strength, and in doing so lose the very identity that made me valuable in the first place? This isn't about self-blame. It's about self-awareness. It is a forensic audit of your own boundaries, your discernment, and your standards. This introspection shatters the most persistent and painful illusion, the version of her you fell in love with. The depth of the hurt often stems not just from her actions, but from the death of the dream you nurtured. You weren't just in a relationship with the real flawed human being. You were in a relationship with the potential you saw, with the future you imagined, with the ideals she represented during the best moments. The pain is the gap between that beautiful fiction and the cold reality of her choices. Healing, therefore, requires a brutal honesty where you consciously demote her from the pedestal you've built for her. You must see her clearly, not as the protagonist of your romantic story, but as a whole and complete person, capable of both good and bad, of kindness and cruelty. When you finally see her clearly with all her inconsistencies, her immaturities, and her flaws, the spell breaks. The phantom you miss ceases to exist. You are left grieving something that was never truly there, which is a far easier pain to release than the loss of a real person. This clarity is the blueprint for your future. Every wound she inflicted becomes a precise indicator of what you must never tolerate again. If she disrespected your time, you now demand respect for it as a non-negotiable standard. If she was dismissive of your ambitions, you now understand that a partner must be your ally, not your critic. If she betrayed your trust, you learn that trust is not given freely, but earned consistently, and protected by boundaries with consequences. The pain sharpens your vision, allowing you to see people not for who they say they are, but for who their actions reveal them to be. This isn't cynicism, it's discernment. The man who learns these lessons does not become closed off. He becomes selectively open. He raises his standards so high that only the truly worthy can meet them. In this way, the experience becomes an upgrade. She didn't break you. She gave you the data you needed to build an unbreakable foundation for the rest of your life. The journey culminates not in a final confrontation with her, but in a quiet, absolute reconciliation with yourself. You realize that the entire ordeal was never about managing her actions, but about mastering your own. You had no control over her choices, her shifting emotions, or her capacity for hurt. But you always had absolute sovereignty over your response, your recovery, and the meaning you assigned to the pain. This is the ultimate frame shift, from asking the powerless question, "Why did she do this to me?" to declaring the empowered statement, "This is what I will become because of it." Your rebirth is the only response that matters, a response that renders her irrelevant not through hatred, but through profound and irreversible growth. She becomes a footnote in your history, a catalyst that prompted a transformation she never gets to witness fully. This rebirth is characterized by a quiet, unshakable strength that permeates your entire being. The desperate need for her to see your value, to acknowledge the damage, to grant you closure at all evaporates. You understand that waiting for an apology is like waiting for a key at the door of a prison you've already walked out of. Closure is not a document she signs and hands to you. It is a piece you build within the walls of your own life. It is crafted through every day you choose your purpose over your pain, your future over your past. You create it the moment you accept that she may never comprehend the depth of the wound, and you realize you no longer need her to. Your validation becomes an internal source, a self-sustaining engine that does not require her reflection to function. The greatest revenge, then, is a complete and total upgrade of the self. It is looking back and realizing that the man who was hurt, the one who trusted too freely, who ignored his own boundaries, who derived his value from her presence, no longer exists. You have replaced him with a man of sharper discernment, harder discipline, and higher standards. You don't just heal from her, you build from her. The lessons learned become permanent armor, ensuring no one can ever cut you in exactly the same way again. This is how you truly win. Not by defeating her, but by outgrowing the entire dynamic that allowed the hurt to happen. When you become a man who knows his worth and protects his peace with unwavering conviction, you become untouchable. Her memory fades not because you forced it out, but because you simply filled your world with things that are more significant. She was not sent to destroy you. She was the necessary fire that burned away your naivety, forging you into a man of greater strength, wisdom, and depth. And in that final, quiet realization, you find the ultimate peace. She didn't take anything from you at all. She only revealed the strength you had within you all along.